How many layers does hell have? Well, in Dante's Inferno, there are 9 of them, and in today's video, we're going to be going over these 9 layers. The first layer of hell that Dante went into is called Limbo. Limbo was the place that people went where they weren't evil people, but they didn't accept Christ during their life, so they're sent here instead. It describes how Socrates and Aristotle are some of the people who are stuck in this very layer of hell because they didn't accept Christ in their life, but they were completely evil, so their only punishment is sorrow, never able to see God or heaven. The second layer of hell is lust. In this layer, people are thrown violently in the air back and forth, constantly hitting each other, never able to find rest, like in their lives when they were lusting around, moving from one thought to the next, never stopping. The third layer of hell is gluttons. People at this layer lay on the ground as an icy rain constantly hits on them, as they're unable to move, being constantly alone, showing off their selfishness and coldness to other people during their lives. The fourth layer of hell is greed. This layer of hell was reserved for people who spent too much during their life or people who hoarded too much during their life. These two groups are now forced to play against each other as they kill each other and fight each other over gold while they're forced to drag around boulders from their chests for eternity. The fifth layer of hell is anger. People who had wrath or people who were sullen during their life would be sent to this layer of hell. People who are sent here would be sent into a giant river, and people who had wrath during their life would come up to the very top where they would constantly fight amongst each other, and the people at the bottom would be sullen and be forced to gargle underneath the ocean. The first 5 layers of hell are sins of incontinence, where people lack discipline, restraint, or moderation. The sixth layer of hell is heresy. People who were sent to the heresy level of hell were forced to be in a grave made out of fire, constantly burning for eternity, until the day Judgment Day called, where their eternal soul would go to rest. People who were sent to this level of hell didn't believe in an afterlife, so they're forced to be punished till the day it comes where they'll cease to exist. The 7th level of hell is violence. There are 3 categories you could be sent to: people who hurt their neighbors, people who hurt themselves, and people who hurt God and nature. People who hurt their neighbors or hurt the people around them were picked up and dipped into a lake of fire and blood, tortured for eternity. The people who ended up killing themselves during their life were turned into trees, where creatures would torture them as they bled for eternity. Lastly, the people who did violent crimes against God and nature were forced to lay on hot sand as fire fell from the sky, raining on them. The 8th layer of hell is for people who did fraud. This layer is meant for people who are sex workers, flatterers, people who sold their office, people who sold their church position, people who are fortune tellers, people who did astrology, people who are politicians, people who are thieves, people who are bad teachers, people who create their own religions, people who are falsifiers. Any of those people, they got their own specific punishments in that layer. The last layer of hell is where Satan is frozen himself, along with people who betrayed their family, country, guests, and betrayed God themselves.